Sup guys, I'm Kel, Red Zone Rogue, and today we have another Force of Will strategy video for you guys. Keep in mind that this is not a deck tech, but is instead a strategy video with the intent of inspiring you guys to go out and make your own dank builds. But in case you don't care about any of that crap, there is a deck list in the description down below. So before we go over the strategy, I just wanted to point out for my regular viewers that I got a new playmat, and what makes this playmat pretty sweet is that it is a custom playmat. So yeah, I will be using this for most of my videos going forward. I like it a lot. I think it fits the channel, and those of you who are familiar with Rage of Bahamut or Shadowverse will recognize this character. So the strategy today, unlike my other videos, is not a combo-centric strategy, but is instead a control-centric strategy, focusing on Valentina here, specifically on the ruler side of Valentina. The build that I'll be going over today focuses on illusions and heavy control, but you can build this several other ways, and I will go over those ways at the end of the video before the sideboard options. So the ruler for this build is the Invading Demon of Water Valentina, and she is very good for control builds. Basically, her ability is as followed. It's a little wordy, but it's really simple to grasp once you get it. If you play a water chant, then target Resonator gets minus X100 or /0 until end of turn, where X is that chant's cost. And if you play a darkness chant, then target Resonator gains 0 minus X100 until end of turn, where X is that chant's cost. And if you play one that is both, then you do get both, and both of those can go to separate targets. They don't have to be on the same Resonator. That's really good, and it makes some cards in this deck viable that would not be viable in other strategies. So let's go over some of these cards and detail the controlling aspects of it. Like I said before, I will be doing an illusions type build, not the more typical stealth build, but I will go over the stealth cards at the very end in case that is a strategy that you want to pursue. Before I forget, I should also go over her ruler side, Valentina Release Terror. You usually won't be using this side. The focus of the deck is really around the ruler side, but the J-Ruler side is interesting as well. It's not super great. She's just in 1,000,000. The art is really cool in my opinion. And you can just pay one of any color less to play Wind Darkness chants, and it has to be both of them. It can't just be a Wind or a Darkness. And then you can banish 2 Resonators, and you can choose one. You can draw a card, or you can destroy target Resonator. That shouldn't come up all too often, but it could still come up, so I figured that it is worth going over. Alright, so this is our Humble Illusions package, is what I'm going to call it. The Illusory Projection and the Illusion Wizard are both 2-for-1s, which are pretty good. It means you get 2 effects for the price of 1. Basically, you get 2 Resonators for the price of 1, but this one is staggered over a death, and you get both of them all at once in this with the Illusion Wizard. So what this one is, it's just a 400/400 for a wind and, or not a wind, for a darkness and a water. Jeez, talking is hard. And when it dies, you get to put a 400/400 water darkness fantasy resonator token onto your field, and that is what this is. This is the token we will be using for the deck. You will probably need a couple of them, or at least something to represent them, because this is fairly important. And that is also why I put this in this batch, because it actually lets you make use of the Remains of Ataractia's special ability, which lets you rest it to give a token +100/+100 until end of turn, which is pretty good because we're going to be using some tokens, and you can pump them up, and that's basically our main win condition for the deck. We'll just go over the Illusion Wizard real quick. Other than the fact that I really like its art, it is a 500/500, and when it comes into play, you get a 400/400 token, so you get one of these. So this is basically 900/900 for 3 will. That's alright, but the fact that you get 2 at once is pretty good. It gums up the board, and there's another card in the deck that does make use of the fact that you have 2 on the field. We'll go over that when the time comes, but yeah. Nightmare of the Ashen Dream is another Resonator we will be running in the deck. It is pretty good. At first I didn't think it was that great, because it's just a 200/200 for 3, which is pretty bad. However, when it comes into play, you can return a Resonator your opponent controls back to their hand, and then they have to discard a card. So I basically use this as like a tempo discard type effect. It's pretty good against the Nine-Tailed Fox, bouncing one of their Chimeras back to their hand. If they don't have enough stones out in play, then they can't just play it. It's a pretty good stall card, and lets you set up for other plays later in the future using other cards like Scorn of Dark Alice. You know, you can return the Resonator back to their hand. They have to pitch a card, probably pitching a worse card, and then you get to use Scorn of Dark Alice to get that Resonator out of their hand if you want to do that. Also, it is a Water and Darkness card and a Fantasy card, which is all relevant for the next card. Moojdart, Lady of Illusions, is the main finisher of the deck. It is a 2 of any, a Darkness, and a Water for an 800/800 flying Resonator. What is really relevant about her is, excuse the shine, is that all water resonators I control gain plus 200, and other darkness resonators I control gain plus 200, and every resonator in the deck is both, so she gives everyone in the deck plus 400, and then you can banish a fantasy resonator and give her barrier until end of turn, which is really good. She'll basically pump up all the dudes on your team so you can swing in for some big damage late in the game after you've locked it down, controlled the board, and done all that good control-y type stuff. Alright, now we have the removal package for the deck. This deck features quite a bit of removal as well as discard, and the removal is quite efficient, and you've probably seen it elsewhere in the game, though perhaps not the plot of Water and Darkness. So let's go over these cards individually and talk about why they're good in this deck. Separation of Body and Soul is very unique to this deck because it basically doesn't function outside of this deck easily. What it does is just one water. It's a chant, not a quick cast or an instant. It will basically destroy any resonator that has a different attack or defense than its printed attack or defense, as you can see down here. Destroy target resonator with attack different from its printed attack or defense different from its printed defense. One hang up with this is that you cannot just play this with Valentina and kill a guy. Their defense or attack needs to be altered before you can even make the target. So unfortunately, this isn't just a one blue kill spell for Valentina. That would be nice, but that's not how it works. You will need to cast another chant beforehand using Valentina's ability to give it minus whatever, and then use this to kill it. Charlotte's Water Transformation magic, or just bear magic, as a lot of people like to call it, is just basically a staple for water decks. I like it a lot in this deck because you produce a lot of 400 resonators that you can block with and trade. So, say they're crashing in with a big Chimera, you can turn it into 400 and block with one of your fantasy tokens, killing it and maybe getting another fantasy token back, or, you know, just basically generating some value with your tokens, and so they're not completely worthless. Because of that, we can run a full playset of these, which is excellent. And this card goes very well with the next card, which is the Space-Time Anomaly, another card that you've probably seen way too much of already, but it is very good in this deck, because it gives a J Resonator, minus 500 until end of turn. This one is a instant, just like the bear magic. Because it costs a darkness and a water, it will trigger Valentina's abilities, like both of them. So you can give a Resonator minus 500, and another one minus 200, minus 200 /0, or another one /0 minus 200, or whatever. Or just one minus 700, and you get a draw card when you play this, and it has Remnant, much like the bear magic. So you can bear magic someone's dude, and then Space-Time Anomaly something. You can do a lot of weird wombo combos, like bear a dude, give another guy minus 300, or minus 100, minus 0, and then you can blow that one up, and then, you know, do a lot of crazy stuff. Since all the cards are fairly inexpensive to cast, you can clean up the board pretty well, and since they have Remnant and this one draws you a card, there's a lot of value to be had there. Last and possibly least is the Plot of Water and Darkness. I would not be running this in any other type of Valentina deck except for Illusions. The fact that we have Illusions and we'll probably have 2 Resonators on the field at a time makes this card quite good. It can be a 3-for-1 in certain instances, and that's just really sweet. The fact that it costs 3 makes it kind of slow for Force of Will right now, but let's go over what it is quickly in case you don't know what it is. So it is a chant, quick cast, for one of any darkness and a water. So in addition to that, just being a 3-cost chant, you also get this pretty good ability down here. It says, choose one. If you control a Water J Resonator and another Darkness J Resonator, you may choose both. Destroy target Resonator or put a 400 Water Darkness Fantasy Resonator onto the field. So if you have 2 guys on the field already, you can play this, blow up a Resonator, put a 400 in your field, and give something minus 300 with Valentina. That is pretty good, and if you can kill something with that, that's just a straight up 3-for-1, and it is very good. Also, the art's really nice, so that also helps it. Alright, finally we have the discard package for the deck, not including the Nightmare, the Ashen dude, the Resonator who makes your opponent discard a card after bouncing a Resonator. We have the Nameless Mist, Scorn of Dark Alice, and Valentina's Reach. All of these cards are incredibly good. I've already gone over Nameless Mist before in many other videos. It's just an incredibly efficient card. You get to look at your opponent's hand, pick a non-Resonator card, and they have to discard it. Then you get to put a +100/+100 counter on one of your dudes. Scorn of Dark Alice is very similar to that. You get to look at their hand and pick a Resonator, and they have to discard that card. Also very good. I do run a full playset of both of these in the deck. just to strip out your opponent's best cards, make sure they can't play anything or play anything relevant. Very, very good cards, especially for control. And then we also have Valentina's Reach, which should not be understated. It's just a darkness and a water and X, and you can choose one. Your opponent either discards X cards or you draw X cards. And what makes this very, very good with Valentina is that the X does factor into the total cost of the card when applied to Valentina's ability. So if you pay 4 plus a water and a darkness, that is 6. So you can give something minus 600 /0 and minus 0 /600 or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. You can give something minus 600 minus 600 if you would like. And that is super, super good. You can blow up their dude and make them discard their hand, or blow up their dude and draw a new grip of cards. Like, this is really sweet. I like it quite a bit. It is slow. It's like your big bomb at the end, maybe after you run out of gas, or you could use it early to get rid of the last few cards in your opponent's hand. Alright, so before going over the sideboard, I want to go over a couple optional strategies you can use for this deck. Possibly even more efficient strategies, but I like the fantasy theme right now. I think this is more a popular strategy to use anyway, jeez. The Lapis' Dark Storm just makes your opponent discards 2 cards. One of them is random and is a very efficient discard spell. And if you're going to run a more heavy control build with these 2 stealth cards that I will go over, then you probably want to run this as well as more removal, more disruption, perhaps some Artemis, the God's Bow, and all that stuff. Here we have the standard, I guess what you would call the stealth package. You run maybe a playset, maybe 3 of each of both of these cards. Very, very good. I would not run any other Resonators except for these if you're going to go with that strategy. It is a very good strategy. A lot of people use it in the Dark Alice builds. So yeah, you could definitely use it here as well. And then last but not least, I know I keep saying that, is this Charlotte. What is this? Charlotte, Wielder of the Sacred Spirit. She's pretty good. She has Barrier equal to the number of cards in your hand, and she gains plus 200 for each card in your hand, and when she enters the field, you get to draw a card. So you can use her for more heavy controlling builds as well. Maybe even alongside some of the stealth stuff, maybe not. Maybe you can use her as the only Resonator as your big win condition. I don't really like that as much because you get blown out by board wipes and stuff like that, but still pretty good and still a good option if you want to do something different. Alright, finally we have these sideboard options for the deck. The sideboard options are pretty self-explanatory. They're pretty straightforward. Black Moonbeam just straight up blows up a ruler, or J-Ruler, if you're having trouble with that. Prison in the Lunar Lake is very good against the Nine-Tailed Fox and a couple other decks, so I would run 4 of these for that. You might even want to run these in your main deck if you're playing against a lot of foxes in your locals. You might be. I know a lot of people are. And then, let's see, the Shackles of Ice is another very, very good card, hosing over activated abilities of rulers. Yeah. Controller cannot play its activated abilities, which is another good card against Fox. And then finally, the Magic Rebound, which I think is a pretty good card, lets you change the target of a spell or ability with a single target, and then you get to draw a card and has quick cast. Pretty good against heavy counter decks, just messing up burn, all sorts of stuff. This card is pretty good, pretty tricky, and they might not see it coming. Alright guys, so that was my Dark Waters Valentina Illusion Control deck. I don't know what I'm going to call it, probably something like that. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, maybe leave a like, maybe even subscribe. Every bit helps, and I appreciate it oh so much. I'm still a small channel and still growing, and I honestly appreciate every little bit. Regardless of what you do, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time. Have a good one, guys, and I will see you later.